Welcome to the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast.
Hello and welcome to today's podcast, Catherine Vandome and Me. And today I'm joined by a very special, very talented guest who is a star of stage and screen. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce one of the best gentlemen I know, and he defines the word gentleman. He's loved by all and he's uber gifted as well. So it does give me great pleasure to introduce today Dermot Canavan. Hello, Dermot. How are you?
Hello, Cathy. I'm good, thank you. And it's lovely to see you after all this time. It really is, because it's a couple of years since we last spoke, I think.
It
I think
is.
it's
It is.
10 years ago, isn't it? Yeah, since we last spoke, even though I've known you since you were about 15, 16.
That's
I think
it.
it was. Yeah, so yeah. But yeah, I'm honoured to be here. Thank you for inviting me on. I'm looking forward to it. If
Oh,
my
thank
voice
you.
holds up and everything, and I can
Oh,
hear.
you're doing, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to invite you here today, Dermot, because what we're going to do is we're going to hear all about you, which I know the viewer will absolutely revel in. And absolutely, if you want to sort of introduce who you are, Dermot, to everybody, a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to take you backwards and forwards through your life, and you can explain and highlight all the wonderful achievements and exciting things that you have done and can entertain us with today. So Dermot, what would you classify yourself as? Are you an actor, musical theatre? What would you say you are? And now also a playwright, so you can add
Yeah.
that to
I would have to. I used to just class myself as an actor, which is a lovely thing to be able to class myself as a full-time working actor. It's slightly changed because over the years I've become a writer as well. Not prolific in any way. I've just written a few things, one of which I've managed to keep going for the past 20 years. The play just keeps on re-emerging and going through
wow.
slight changes and incarnations. And it's about to, well, we'll get to that in a bit when it's
Yeah,
about
yeah.
because it takes us back to our hometown as well. But I would say, yeah, these days I'm comfortable with saying I'm an actor writer. I do more acting than writing. I'm from Preston. I'm 59 years old. I'll be 60 in November this year.
Dermot, don't worry, it's not your dating profile.
That's a good job then, isn't it? I'll tell you. It'll be swipe left all the time.
Not at all.
I've had many jobs over my life until and I wasn't good at any of them until
Yes, you were.
I settled on. I was an awful civil servant. I worked for the Preston Combined Court, the Crown and the County Court in Preston of all places. I wasn't a very good civil servant. I think that the main thing was, no matter what I did from growing up, I just wanted to act. It was as simple as that. I either wanted to act or write. As a kid, I used to write loads and loads of things. I even did my own little comic, which nobody saw, or only me.
You
So
were a stand-up comic as a little boy?
no. I drew a comic, an
Oh,
actual
you
comic.
made a comic.
Yeah, I made a comic.
Can we know
Myself.
what it's called, Dermot?
No, it didn't really have a name. If anything, it was probably copied the name Core, because I used to read Core comic. I loved Core and Withering Chips and
Oh,
things like that. And myself and my friend Glendon Snape, who unfortunately is no longer with us. We were when we were at junior school, and we must have been about 7 or 8 years old. We just came up with this comic, so we would do little panels and sketches and write our own comics, and it lasted for a couple of lunch times, I would say. and
so
we
this
had
is in
great.
school hours when you were
Yeah,
meant to be studying.
yeah, well, we were only little.
Oh,
And it's something that I wanted to do as a kid. Actually, I loved comics. I still love comics,
Yeah.
or graphic novels, as some people will
Wow.
call them these days. And I'm unfortunately, I'm just not as good an artist in that field as I would
So
like to.
did you do the literary and your friend
Well,
did
we
the
did both.
sketches, or did you do both?
We did both. We did both. That was the thing, because he was a good artist as well, and a good writer. So we did both, but we didn't really uh, we didn't write much, I must admit. But to us, it was fantastic.
Yeah. That's your
That was
first, so that was your real first experience, perhaps.
well, yeah. And it round about the same time, because my first experience of theatre. Before we go any further, you know me, but of course anybody watching doesn't. I can talk for England. I can talk and talk and talk, and you're also on my favourite subject, which is me. I would say. If I waffle too much, you do have to step in and say,
No, I think you're
"No, no, no,
amazing. I've seen you on podcasts before. I think you have a brilliant interview technique. And what I love is you're very self-deprecating, and there's no need. You're so gifted, Dermot, and so loved. So we'll all reveling in these stories. These are the things, you see, that perhaps you wouldn't get asked in most interviews. And that's what I want to delve into, the little bit about you before we get on to where you successfully progressed.
Thank you, thank you." Well, it was just at the same similar time as being so like doing this little comic and dreaming of working for Marvel or Core or
Yeah.
whatever. But I did love Marvel because I used to read Mighty World of Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
We used to get it every week, and I loved all the Marvel and the DC. I grew up with DC comics. My sisters and my brother had a small collection of DC comics from the 60s, which were wonderful. And so I did want to do comics, but at the same time, around about the same time, which would be 72,
Yeah.
1972. So I was 8 in 72. So I was 8 in the November. I always think I think of the year and I think, oh yeah, I was this age that year. But I'm a November baby. So
Okay.
basically all of the year I'm one age, and then it gets to the end of the year and I'm a year older. So when I say, oh yeah, I was 8 years old in 1972, I was 7. I was 7 years old in 1972 for all of the year until the end, and then I became 8. So I don't know why I had to explain that, but I do.
No, it
Oh, yeah.
highlights that you were a little
A little
young for
younger.
your years, or old for your years.
I would say a little young. With it being 1972, of course, it was
Yeah.
the Preston Guild that we had.
Okay.
My first Preston Guild.
Now, can I just explain to
Yeah.
anybody that doesn't know what the Preston Guild is, if I can just interject?
Yeah.
I think I'm right in saying it's a celebration of, originally it was the cotton mills, I think, originally, celebration in Preston that happens every 20 years. Am I correct? You
It was
explain a little further.
it was the guild merchants. It was the
Yeah.
people that would come into Preston docks. So not just the cotton industry, but basically everything that came in through the docks. And so on all the merchants of the town every 20 years, not just the town, but surrounding areas and anybody that came along. And it's just a week-long festival every 20 years.
Yeah.
We were meant to lose it when we became a city, but we've been allowed to keep it, I believe,
Yeah.
which is a good thing, because the next Preston Guild is in 2032.
Is it?
I believe. I think
My
it is. The last
goodness.
one was 2012.
My goodness.
It really is. It's just one of
It's
my favorite.
fantastic. It's a
It is.
celebration. We have floats, we have entertainers, we have every single sort of market trade, everything that celebrates Preston, and we're very blessed with that. And we also simultaneously have egg rolling at Easter, which
Yes, we're
well,
the
now
only ones that do it.
we are. And I remember being on the cruise ship and rolling my Easter eggs in Barbados down the Clipper Lounge, and somebody saying, "What on earth are you doing?" I said, "It's a Preston tradition." So we do have those traditions, don't we, Dermot?
Well, this is the thing. I still, even now, even though I'm not a religious person in any way, shape, or form, I'm quite the opposite, really. If I get an Easter egg now, I've still got to roll it before I eat. You've got to roll it into something to try and crack it. So,
and are you somebody that puts it in a plastic bag first? Some people don't.
no,
Oh, you
no,
don't?
no, I don't bother about it. I get a bit of carpet fluff in it. It doesn't matter. it all tastes the same. It
So,
certainly is.
so you're basically saying at age 8, Preston, getting back to Preston Guild.
Seven,
Go on.
7. I wasn't that old. 7.
Oh, sorry,
Preston Guild.
7. Sorry.
You are at Preston Guild. My dad was heavily involved in Preston Drama Club at the Playhouse, where we started. Well, where we first met, and they were doing, of course, for the week of the Preston Guild, they were doing quite a few events. One of which was on Preston Flag Market, as they were doing a medieval fair. And my dad roped me in to be a page boy, a bit of a knave kind of thing. So I had to wear tights and a hood and medieval gear kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was meant to have geese. I was told I was going to have geese and they were going to be on a lead and everything. I thought, oh, brilliant! I'm 7. I'm going to be at Flag Market with geese. There was no geese, and I just had to do a bit of
Health and
medieval
safety
dancing.
said no. Health and
Well,
safety.
yeah, it was no. It's just I think it was my dad had just got a usual thing, got ideas of public station. Oh, we'll have geese. It'll be fine. That's medieval, isn't it? And so I just ended up dancing on a podium with Michael Bramwood Spencer. If you
No
remember,
way! Wow.
he was 3 years old because his mum and dad were involved.
Marilyn Bramwood Spencer, yep.
Yeah,
Wonderful artist, yep.
Oh yeah, she was wonderful. And that was my first real appearance on stage, and I loved it. Even though I was quite a shy child, being in front of all those people didn't faze me really. I didn't show off. I have to admit, I didn't show off or anything, but I was just
Reveling in it.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. The whole atmosphere was terrific, and the first thing I ever saw in theatre was a couple of years earlier at the Playhouse. Was they were doing Wizard of Oz for the Panto season. They were doing a lovely production of Wizard of Oz, and my dad was playing the wizard, a part which I've always wanted to play. I would absolutely love to play.
Anybody watching?
Yes, anybody watching? Thank you, indeed. I just fell in love with the theatre. I saw the production. It was the most magical thing I'd ever seen. And afterwards, after the show, my dad took me backstage and showed me how they were packing up the stage and putting the scenery away. And this world that I thought was real was all being folded away and put up against the wall, and everything was cleared and everything. And so the illusion of theatre, as much as I loved it, only lasted a couple of hours before I was brought back down to earth. But I think I loved it even more because.
And your dad was a big influence, am I right? Can you just say who your dad is? Because he was very well revered in Preston as well.
Yeah, my dad was Chris Canavan, or George Christopher is his official title. George Christopher. His mum and the family in Ireland called him George. My mum didn't like the name George, so she called him by his middle name, Christopher. But to the people of Preston, he was Chris Canavan, who was a window cleaner in the centre of town. He would do all the shops and offices, and was also an actor, though his acting was different to mine in the fact that I've been mainly theatre. Excuse me, I've been very successful, and I've mainly done theatre, whereas my dad started off doing radio.
Okay, all right.
BBC Leeds. He started doing radio with Alan Ayckbourn, the playwright, who was a young writer at the time. From there, he joined Granada TV, and he started doing lots of little, what he would call bit parts, which the name has now changed. But he'd be in quite a few Granada productions where he'd have a couple of lines per episode, kind of thing. And he did quite a bit of Coronation Street, and then things changed and he didn't work for a while. Everything went into a recession in the
when
70s.
would this be, Dermot?
This was in the 70s. In the 70s.
In the 70s.
Everything kind of ground to a halt, and so he didn't work for a while, and then slowly, round about the early 80s, he got back into it. But this time round, he was a background artist.
Okay.
Or people used to say an extra.
Yeah.
But because he
They're very
knew people,
valuable because a lot of
they are
people back
very,
then started, and even today, started as an extra.
yeah,
And if you're given 3 lines, I think it is, you get a little bonus.
yeah, yeah,
And then eventually it can transcend into, into a role. So it's not a bad place to
this is it.
learn the art
Yeah.
of it. Would you agree?
Well, yes, definitely, definitely. Because my dad, because he knew what he was doing, he knew everybody on the floor as well. It got to the point where he was pretty much there every week doing Corrie. He worked full time on Coronation Street,
Wow. Wow.
and he would actually, he was the one that if there was anybody new that arrived, any new background artists or support actors as they're called now, my dad would train them up basically.
Yeah.
He would tell them how to behave, what to do, because there's quite a few people, and I don't mean this in, I'm not throwing shade or anything like that, but
Yeah.
there are a few people who sign up with extras agencies who haven't got a clue. When they turn up, they don't know how to
Yeah.
behave. And it's understandable because if you haven't
Yeah.
had any training or you haven't had anybody showing what to do.
Do you mean the discipline side of
Yeah,
keeping
it's the
quiet?
discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole acting side, the discipline
Yeah.
side. You're not pulling focus. You're there to, as my dad always used to say, we're like background artists are like children. We're there to be
Yes.
seen but not heard.
Yes.
And he, because he was quite well known by people at Granada by then, he really enjoyed himself for just turning
Oh.
up and doing his little roles and walking
And
in
playing a
the,
father figure to others, I'm sure,
yeah,
who are
well,
coming up the ranks and
yeah,
learning, and
yeah.
very well
This was the thing.
respected, your father, just like you
It
are
was.
now
Oh, thank
and
you very
always
much.
were, but
Yeah,
very well respected. You come from
yeah.
good stock, don't you, Dermot?
Not too bad. I would say not too shabby. I would say, but yeah, I got it from him basically. And when I was about 18, 19,
Yeah.
uh,
Just prior
I
to
always
that,
wanted,
though, Dermot, just to
yeah,
rewind a little. We've heard what happened at age 8. Between
yeah,
then and there, what
yeah.
did you sort of study? What was your focus? Did you take drama, or was it not available, or
No,
what did you do?
it wasn't really available at my school.
Yeah. And where did you
Because
go, Dermot?
I went to my junior school was St Pius the Tenth,
Oh,
which
very
is,
nice.
yeah, prep school, which was uh, even though it goes so against my working class roots and everything and how politically how I am, but my dad being an immigrant, and this is the important thing that I do stress. My dad was an immigrant. He was an immigrant from Ireland. So I know a lot of people will say, oh, it's only Ireland, it's part of the UK. Yes, it is part of the UK until you come and live in England and you live with people in England who think that anybody who comes from around the corner are not welcome and they're not
Yes.
English and they shouldn't be in
Yeah.
the country. And unfortunately, that's what my dad put up with for every day of his life in Preston.
Oh,
His name was Christopher Canavan, but a large majority of people called him Paddy every day. And my dad would just let that.
yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, so I went to Preston. I went to St Pius the Tenth because it was a
Yep.
fee paying school, and my dad wanted to show everybody else just how successful and what a hard worker he was, and he was sending his children to fee paying schools.
Oh, and have you got siblings then, Dermot? Because I
Yeah,
don't know much about that.
I had two
Brother.
sisters and a brother. Yes, who were
Wow.
older than me. And they, by the time I went to Pius the Tenth, Sean was there for just 1 year because we'd moved from St Paul's Road where we grew up to Forward Hall Lane,
Yep.
uh, and my dad's business was doing a bit better. He was a window cleaner and cleaning business, and so he wanted to show all these people that called him Paddy and everything that
Yeah.
he was a hard worker,
Yeah.
and so he sent me to a fee-paying school. Consequently, um, quite a few times the headmaster would come over to me at lunchtime and say things like, is your dad actually going to pay the bills this year? Because he was always behind with it. And
Oh.
I think he finally paid them. But that was, sure, we'll get him into school. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. You know, we don't have to worry about things like that. So I did Pius the 10th, and I went to school with a lot of people who were in a different class than me. And I don't mean learning. I mean, a social class.
And
And
how
I
did that feel, Dermot? How did that feel to you?
hated every day of it. Hated,
Really?
yeah, I hated school completely.
Yeah.
I went from Pius X. I went to Preston Catholic College, and
And how
I
was that? And what did you study there, Dermot?
hated it. I did the usual subjects, and I think it was only in the fifth form, fourth form, fifth form, I was allowed to do drama, as
Wow.
in they were doing a school production of School for Scandal, and my friend was involved in it, and they needed somebody just to play a servant with a couple of lines, and I did it. I got it.
Wow.
It did cause a bit of trouble because with it being an after-school activity, we'd stay behind a couple of nights a week to rehearse. At the time, even though I was only young, about 13, 12, 13, 14, I was also working for my dad in the evening, cleaning offices. So my dad was a bit put out because it meant that if I was rehearsing, I couldn't clean the offices. So consequently, I only did one play. That was it.
Oh.
After that, I went back to cleaning
So your
offices.
dad had a good, strong sort of, work ethic.
Because of what my dad had gone through as an actor,
Yeah.
and knowing how difficult it was,
Yeah.
how it's not easy unless you
No.
know some, as it used to be a long,
Yeah.
long time ago, the 50s and 60s,
Yeah.
as well, coming from
Which would be fantastic character
oh yeah, yeah,
casting.
yeah,
Yeah.
it wouldn't these days, but in those days, no,
Yeah.
he had to take elocution and lose his accent completely
Did
to
you
get the
take elocution? Because I did as a little girl and I hated it.
no,
I
I
wanted to just speak like myself, but
yeah,
I was always
I was,
bullied for being posh and speaking posh. Did you get any of that? Did you
well,
have
no.
elocution?
Well, I didn't need elocution because I went to Pius X. So
Well, there you go.
I just copied how everybody else spoke. That was,
Yes.
so I just copied, and I ended up with this kind of mixture of an accent. It wasn't
Yeah.
really pressed, and it wasn't really well spoken or anything like this. How I speak now is from 20 odd years of being in London and having to perfect this kind of accent. So it's a neutral accent,
Yeah. So that
because
we're
if
understood.
so that we're understood. Because as soon as I get home, I start talking to my sister and my brother. Start talking like that again.
Yeah.
I
Are
get
you love? Right down your
yeah,
nose.
how you doing? Looking through, that kind of thing. And your accent changes immediately. And you just, oh, all right, how are you doing? And I'm very, very lazy at talking. I would mumble quite a lot. I still do, but
No,
as a
you've
kid,
got some great skills at communication, Dermot. I really have, and an admirable speaking voice. But what I love about you is your comedy, and honestly, another direction, another life, and maybe even it's an option still today. I could absolutely see you doing stand up, and you were my influence to eventually do stand up. One of my strong influences, and I say this in my book that I've just written, which of course you're appearing in, and within that I do say what a positive influence you were. So let's go to when perhaps we met. So I would be 16. I don't
yeah.
quite know how old you were, a little older perhaps, just
It
slightly.
was, I think it was 1990.
1990. And what was the
Yeah,
production?
it was Humpty Dumpty by John
at,
Turner
at
at
Preston
Preston
Playhouse.
Playhouse, yeah, for Preston Drama Club. And you were the princess, I believe, and Alison Cathy was the principal boy.
That's it.
Ian Smith was the king, and
Yes.
I've forgotten his name. Brian, I think his name was Brian or
Who's the
Jack
baddie?
was the baddie, and he was. Uh, and, uh, and then
And what were you doing, most importantly?
I was one of the what
You
did
were
they
the
call
comedian, like Silly
the
Billy
comedians?
type.
Yeah, there was two of us. There was me and Chris. I've forgotten Chris's surname. Debbie Taylor's brother, probably Taylor, but I don't think his surname was Taylor.
And
Um,
what was your role? Can you remember?
yeah, I was one of the henchmen, and we started off
Yes.
with the baddies for the guy, I've forgotten the character's name. It was Humpty Dumpty, so it was all made. It'd been rewritten by John Turner, and not
Yes.
your normal panto. So we were the bad guys that start off being bad, but then of course end up being the goodies, and we would do the most stupid things on stage.
And you had to
But
capture the princess. That was one of the
yeah,
scenes I remember.
yeah,
But
yeah,
every time I looked at you, I
yeah,
would corpse, because that's what you did. You had this wonderful gift of being able to make everybody behind you laugh and then retain your character, whereas I couldn't breathe because you were
yeah.
just so funny. So, you know, you taught me the art of comedy there.
Thank you. I do get into trouble for that. I do get into trouble for that. And
You're
I'm also a
brilliant.
terrible giggler. If I start giggling, that's it. I'm gone. And there's nothing worse than giggling at the wrong moment in the wrong kind of production, as well.
But luckily in panto, you've got that flexibility a little bit, haven't you? Which is why and that's the rawness of the stage. I mean,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about how you feel about how it feels going on stage, because I understand, but I want the audience to understand that passion and how it feels.
I think it's different for everybody. I really do think it's different for everybody. And I also think if you're considering it seriously, going on stage, and I'm not talking about working in front of a camera, but actual live performance, which is completely different. I think if you are serious about it, you find your time. I was 24, 25 when
Yeah.
I started at Preston Playhouse, and I had no dreams. I'd given up on all my dreams of being an actor. I'd auditioned for RADA when I was 19, and I got crucified, absolutely crucified
Can you
by
say a
the.
little bit more? Are you allowed to say a little bit more?
Yeah, of course I can. It was years ago. It was the early 80s. I turned up. I did my two speeches. One was the common man from Man for All Seasons, and the other one was Iago from Othello. It is merely a lust of the blood and the permission of the will. And I'd seen Bob Hoskins do that on telly, and he was my hero. He still is my acting hero.
Yes, very good.
Hoskins. So I did that, and I started doing my speech at RADA in front of this panel of people. And the student who was prompting me, reading in for me, started laughing really, really loudly, and doing this kind of, oh God, oh gosh, oh dear, oh really, and it started putting me off. And
Well, it would. Yeah.
I asked her, because I didn't have any training or anything like that, didn't know what to do. I asked her to be quiet halfway through my speech. Didn't think anything of it. Carried on, because I was 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
I was going to be the next Bob Hoskins. I was the best actor in the world, even though I hadn't really set foot on stage, kind of thing. And so I carried on. And at the end of it, one of the adjudicators said, "Well, I'm sure you'll have a very successful career in amateur dramatics."
Wow.
And I did. He was right. I had a very successful career in amateur dramatics.
Yes.
I'm keeping the language down as well, because I don't normally, when I retell this, I use completely different language. But I had a really good career in amateur dramatics, and to me, it was better training than any drama school.
Yeah.
I did eventually go to drama school, but there was a 10-month course, and it just smoothed off the edges and got me ready for professional work. But being in the amateur group, or groups,
Yeah.
that I was in, because I was there for 9 years at the Playhouse, and I did over 70 plays.
Wow. And would you say you perfected your craft, which is what I would just want to say to everybody watching, and for children who want to start in this industry as well, you and I would both applaud doing anything and everything, amateur, professional, whatever, from young childhood.
Yeah,
because that is your training, that's your discipline, that's how it
I
always was. and people then end up on television and do things, and we think, oh, they've just landed there. But the problem I feel today is a lot of people in their youth go straight onto the television. They haven't got that grounding. They don't understand the professional side of it and the professionalism that comes with, you can't just be talented, you also have to be very professional. And I think that your father's sort of qualities and training and support in your professional life definitely geared you in the right direction and grounded you. But like you say, similarly, I also had a similar story which I described in my book at my first audition at drama school, and I did the same, and it either breaks you or makes you. And don't let it break you, because there's going to be thousands of people throughout your life who are going to say, even if you're the nicest person, who are going to say something bad, often bound in jealousy, often bound in their own insecurity, and often repeated behavior because they've received it and therefore they're giving it. So it's, on a therapy type, way, I would say, don't let anybody barricade your dreams, because you're living proof of that, Dermot. So you did 70 odd shows just at the Playhouse, or did you perform at the Charter as well?
No, I did the Charter because we did the charity players, the St.
Oh,
Catherine's Hospital.
good.
The Charter, did Up and Under, Fur Coat No Knickers, did that a couple of times.
Yeah.
I did Preston Drama Club, Broughton Players, Grimsby Players, Schoolhouse Players at the
Brilliant.
Playhouse. I also did Broughton Club Players.
Yeah.
For them. I did another one in Forward, and I can't remember the name. And
Broughton Hall Players with Carol Buckley.
It could have been Broughton Hall.
Yeah.
It could have been those, but there was another one up in Forward way.
Yeah.
That I did. I only did one for them, but it was good. The Cure for Love for them, did that play twice. So, and also with my friends Cathy and
Oh, yes.
we set up a company called Venture Theatre, and we put on dinner theatre. We put on one act plays at hotels. We go around. That was semi-professional.
I was going to say, well, it's professional in a way. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because we weren't professional, but we got paid for it.
And how old would you be there, Dermot? How old?
I was in my 30s. I was about early 30s.
Early 30s.
So I didn't, as I say, I did 9 years at the Playhouse, and my first play was The Matchmaker. I've got to try and remember what the original question was that he gave me, and it was, if I'm right in thinking, it was how did I feel when I first got on stage?
Yeah.
I'd gone along to the Playhouse after my dreadful audition with RADA. I decided I'm not going to be an actor, and so I went into just this real downward spiral, and just thought, that's it, I'm not going to act.
Did you get a proper job? What we call proper job?
Yeah, I was.
Did you help your dad or?
Oh well, before I took over the Windows, which I did, I did all kinds of work. I really did all kinds of work, office work, just really, really awful. I once spent 2 days putting 5,000 letters into 5,000 envelopes.
Oh my
I got
goodness.
all kind of jobs. I would get calls from the job centre and say, "We've got a job for you," kind of thing, because I always had to work. My dad, so you get out and get a job. And when I was at the Playhouse, when I started at the Playhouse, I was a window cleaner. I was gone full-time window cleaning, taking over my dad's business, so to speak, which sounds grand, but wasn't. It wasn't a huge window cleaning round by any means, but it paid the bills at home, put food on the table, kind of thing, which my dad did for years. We all worked. The other thing I have to say, we all worked in our household from as soon as you were old enough, you got a job, working Saturdays or doing the windows or whatever.
Good.
So I was doing window cleaning when I started at the Playhouse. I'd taken over my dad's windows because my dad by then had started working at the post office, and so he was doing nights at the post office, and so I did the window cleaning only for a short period of time. And I went along with a friend of mine to the Playhouse who was auditioning for a play. And I thought, well, I'll go along with him and then we'll go for a beer afterwards. And I sat in the auditorium and I watched people get up and audition. And I think I was a little vocal because I was very big-headed.
I can't imagine that, Dermot, because
I
that's
know,
not what I saw.
I know, I was a different. I think it was because it was to combat my shyness, and
Right.
it was, it
So it was an
was,
act, really. You were trying
yeah,
to,
I was
yeah.
trying to be somebody kind of thing, and also, my dad had been to the Playhouse, and he was a bit of a name at the Playhouse for all the wrong reasons.
Oh,
But there was those that got on with him and those that didn't. As with,
okay.
and so I turned up at the audition with my friend, and it was Stella Judson.
Oh, yes, Stella. Yes. Yeah.
And Stella turned around and said to me, "You sit down there. Do you want to come up and read?" And I said, "No." I said, "I'm just here to be with a friend of mine." And she said, "Come on, get up and read." So I got up and I was reading the part of Barnaby Tucker in The Matchmaker, which of course is the original version of Hello Dolly.
Yeah.
And so I got up to do that, and I just gave him a silly voice. I just gave him a really, really silly voice. And Stella said, "Great, do you want to do the part?" Not really bothered, you know.
How auditions were. Yes. Do
Well,
you want it or not?
I was like, "No, I don't know." I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it." Anyway, I got the part. My friend didn't.
Oh,
I got the part and started rehearsing and realized that I was a bit rough around the edges and a bit shy, and I needed to learn to stand my ground, which did take time to do because
and you were
there's
about
something.
18. Was this 18?
No, no, no. I was. This was 1990, so I was about 25, 26.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So that period of time from getting ripped apart
Not
at
back and then
Gardner,
working. Yeah.
working was about 6 years.
Wow.
6 years of just not considering acting whatsoever. That was it.
Yes. Yeah.
I wasn't going to be an actor. So we rehearsed Matchmaker, and it came to the opening night, and they have a little trapdoor in the stage at Preston Playhouse. And my character makes his first entrance through the trapdoor as if he'd been working in the cellar for the shop. So I get up on stage, and it's a full house. It's quite a big house, 200 seats, biggest place I've ever played, apart from school. Get on stage, and the wonderful Alan Brown, who was playing the male lead, Arvide, turns around and says, "Boys, we're taking a mistress." And I stepped forward, and in my silly voice just went, "But I'm too young, Mr. Vandergelder." And I just got hit by this wall of laughter.
Brilliant.
The sound of people laughing.
Brilliant.
And I just thought, I love this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It becomes your oxygen, and nobody else can possibly understand unless that's your oxygen. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely.
Laughter is the best medicine, but also on stage, my goodness, there's nothing comparative.
There's nothing like it. Making people laugh, making them cry, getting any kind of reaction out of them. An honest, true reaction means that you've involved them. We had a saying with my tutor, Brendan Murray, at a drama school. He used to say, "If you see it, they'll see it." Meaning the audience. If you see it on stage, if you can create it, they'll be able to see that.
Yeah.
And it is something that I've stuck with, because if you don't play the honesty, and there are some actors that go on stage and just do themselves, and they don't really commit sometimes, and they don't always play the honesty, so you don't involve people. But regardless of what the script is, what you're saying, what you're doing on stage, you've got to do it with honesty.
They call it being, not acting. So if you're being, you're living it, and you had those skills. As I say, maybe you'd already had a wealth, it sounds like you'd already had a wealth of experience in leading roles as well, because that's the nervous component. I always liked to be the minor role, such as Grandma in Fiddler on the Roof, the minor role that gets on and gets off, gets the laugh, and then disappears, because I always had this big fear of losing my memory of words. We now know it's because I had ME and I didn't know, and it was to do with memory issues. However, I did take lead roles, and I don't know how I remembered them, but what I've always admired is people like yourself and Carol Buckley and Dominic Swarbrick, people of Preston Town who could carry large roles right the way through, remember every single word, and then get back up in the morning. And you just seem to have that wonderful brain capacity, Dermot, that not everybody has. Does that make sense? That you can learn so much and remember it?
It does. I still have the same fear. I still do. No matter what role I'm doing, I go through it every day. Every actor's got a different routine, a different way of doing things, and it's not the fear of, oh my god, I'm going to go out and I'm just not going to remember this stuff, but it's the fact that it's getting it into the muscle memory, getting it into the body. But I think it's because of starting late. You know, I mean, yes, I did amateur dramatics for 9 years, until I was about 36, when I went to drama school for 10 months, did a postgraduate course. And then when I came
which drama school did you go to, Dermot?
I went to Drama Studio London, which is in England. And it's run by professionals, and you're taught by, all drama schools are run by professionals. But whereas a lot of drama schools, their tutors are there 100% of the time to train you. That's their job. We were taught by professionals of the industry. So when it came to do TV work, we were working with people who were directing EastEnders.
Brilliant.
And they felt like, right, I'm not filming this week, so I'll come in and do a week with you. We were working with casting directors. We were working with directors from the RSC, from the National, from famous pantos, successful panto companies. We worked with professionals who gave you so much confidence, but also taught you. We taught you how to behave, what to expect, things to do in front of a director, things not to do in front of a director. We had lessons on how to audition, which you would think all you got to do is go in a room and come out with the lines and then go out. But no, it's how you enter the room. It's how you deal with the questions you're given. It's how you compose yourself. It's what you say when you actually leave. I had an audition last Friday, and it was ingrained in us at DSL Drama Studio what to do at auditions. So I'll do the same thing, regardless of whether I know. And you know, I've been acting professionally now for 23 years. It's the fact that because yes, after time you do get to see the same people in the room, but for different parts and different shows and things like that. And if you walk in and you're too overly friendly with them, it can put some people off. If you're overly friendly with the casting director or the MD when you walk in, and you're ignoring the director who's never seen you before, well, that's not a good thing, because it's the director that you want to see, because the other two people know you. They know what you can do. So if you're walking into a room with people that you've never seen before, be yourself. Don't be too loud. I overtalk. I talk so much, it's stupid. As I'm improving today.
We're from Lancashire, Dermot. I think it's part of our character.
I think it's part from being from Lancashire, and also Irish as well. You know, you can just talk and talk and talk.
But it's a quality. I see it as a quality. It's a personality.
Some people do switch off some days when I'm talking.
Not at all.
Trust me. I went in the room last week and I said hello to the people I knew briefly, and I did know some of them. And then when it's time, you go quiet and you listen to the casting panel and what they want you to do, and you whatever they ask, you do, as long as it's within reason. And then when I finish, I thank everybody. I don't shake the hands. I just say, thank you very much for seeing me today and giving over your time. All the best, and I hope everything goes well for you. And then I leave the room. I don't do I've said it a few times and it's really cringy, and I've said it out of nerves, which is, well, see you again. And you just think, oh no, because then they'll think, oh, he thinks he's got the job, but he hasn't got the job. And then I come out and go, oh my God, they'll think that I think that I've got the job, but I haven't got the job. And it's always this thing that goes on in your head kind of thing. But it's just going in, and I think one of the main things with auditions, I know we're going slightly off track, but one of the main things with auditions is the fact that it is an audition. And yes, they do want the first person to walk in to be the ideal casting, and then they don't have to spend the rest of the day in that room. They can be cracking on with things. But until they do, they've got to see people again and again and again. And you've got to go in and you've got to hit your marks, especially if it's a TV audition. You've got
Yes.
to hit certain marks and certain standards. If you're auditioning in front of a camera, your voice is a lot lower because you're using microphones, so you don't shout as much. So you've got to get the same intention and the expression in the voice, but with less volume. Your facial movements haven't to be too big because the camera will pick that up. And once it's blown up on TV, as I've been told a few times,
Yeah.
your face is too big, your eyes are too big, kind of thing. So TV is a completely different kind of audition to theatre. A lot of the time for the past 20 years for me, my auditions have been musical theatre. And you go in and you've got to sing a couple of songs and knock the songs out the ballpark, which I'm not always very good at.
Oh,
I'm
yes,
not,
you are. Yes, you are. And going
well,
from there, Dermot, what can you share with us? What was your first hit, your first success in London? Do you want to share that?
yeah, certainly. I've done a couple of jobs. I went professional in 2001. I did a couple of plays with my friend Amanda Daniels in London that we self-produced, and then I got a job going around Italy on tour for 4 months doing The Tempest. And I did little jobs like that. When I came back, it would
Yeah.
be theatre above a pub, or a bit of TV work, one line here, one line there, a bit of adverts, quite a bit of opener Shakespeare, I would
Very
say.
good, because
I
that's
did,
very hard. That's really
it
projecting your
is.
voice.
I do have a loud voice, and my voice teacher at DSL, Yvonne Morley, said, because I was a lot bigger as well, I had a great big beer belly, and she said, that's just a powerhouse. That belly
Yes.
that you've got is just a powerhouse. She said, that'll fill the West End one day.
Oh,
And I laughed at it because I had no intention of doing the West End. I've never had any intention of doing the West End. I wanted to do northern dramas in the north. I
yeah.
just wanted to do northern theatres, every single northern theatre, and put on either plays that I'd written or really good northern dramas. That I would be happy with. I've never been seen by any of them. I don't get employed as a northerner. Yeah, I don't. So a few years ago, I just thought, well, oh well, never mind. They've obviously got their list of actors that they use and they're happy with. Yeah, I'll crack on and do it my way. Likewise, I've never been seen by the National or the RSC. However, I have done some fantastic work. So
You certainly have. When you say
yeah,
you've never been seen, I thought you meant you'd never have the opportunity or whatever. But what you mean is
I've never auditioned for them. I've never
no.
auditioned for them. I do not exist. According to them,
Okay.
I don't exist.
Is
And
that
I've never
because
been.
you have musical theatre as your backdrop and not
No, no, no,
straight
no.
acting? No.
It's just how it is.
Yeah.
Before I did musical theatre, because prior to 2007, the only music I'd really done was in amateur pantos or in Shakespeare,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of drama students who say, I don't sing, I'm not going to sing, because all I want to do is RSC and National Theatre.
Yeah.
And you have to explain to them, National Theatre and the RSC probably do some of the biggest and the best musicals going. So
Yes.
and
Yes. Yes.
every Shakespeare I've done, I've had to sing because
Yeah.
there's music in Shakespeare.
Yeah, of course.
So I've done all little, I wouldn't say little jobs, but smaller productions, smaller budgets. And then suddenly out of the blue in 2007, my agent put me up for, there was a production of, well, the original London production of Hairspray, which was going to go on
Wow.
Broadway, it was going to be on at the West End, and they wanted to see me.
Fantastic. And can you say who your agent is, Dermot? Can you share
My
that?
agent at the time was Eleanor Hilton.
Okay.
Eleanor was our registrar at drama school. She left drama school, started for her agency, but she retired 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago. So she was my agent from about 2004,
Yeah.
I think. Around about 2004 till 2013.
Brilliant.
She
So
took,
she was your sort of,
yeah.
she was your support mentor and got you that sort of pivotal audition opportunity.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
despite having a beard, the RSC you feel didn't want you. You see, I can't
yeah.
grow one, so I was out of that.
I'd done a tour of Office Suite for Bath Theatre Royal with Leslie Joseph and Edward
Yeah.
Hart. It was my first #1 tour. A #1 tour being it plays all the main theatres,
Wow.
and we went to the RST, the Royal Shakespeare Theatre in Stratford, and we performed there for a week, and nobody came to see us. We were in the big house, and we sold no tickets whatsoever. But whilst I was there, I left a message for Gregory Doran, because, of course, Gregory Doran, who then became the artistic director of the RSC, went to Preston Catholic College. So,
Brilliant.
I left a message for him just to say, "Oh, I'm here from Preston. I just wanted to say hi." And I got to chat with him, and we had a really lovely chat. He's a really wonderful man, and he does fantastic work. And he said, yeah, he said, "I'm always employing people from Preston. My MD comes from Preston, and somebody else comes from Preston." I thought, brilliant, sorted. Never heard from him again.
Really?
Never heard from him again. I mean, he's been a bit busy. Give him that.
Well, he may well have accepted you, as we both know, Dermot, in this business. Sometimes the frontline person wants you, but sometimes there's other components. So it may well be that he was, your backer. You don't know. I hope so.
Well, yeah, true. But he is a lovely fella. Well, he's from Preston, of course. He's lovely.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I think the other thing is the fact that I have been quite busy over the past few years, so I don't really mind. I mean, this is the thing. I'm whinging and moan about, I'm not being seen by the RSC at the National. And then I think about who I've worked with, and I think, no, I've done all right.
They've been ringing you, Dermot. They've been ringing you, and you've just not been available. So tell us the exciting moment and what happened when you auditioned for Hairspray.
Well, I turned up, and it's always depending on the production and depending how it's set out. Sometimes you turn up and it's either a day where it's all similar actors up for the same role, or they're just seeing everybody. And so I turned up for this one, and for the first audition, I didn't have to sing at all. I was just reading for the male authority figure character, which is 5 or 6 small characters in the musical.
Yeah.
So I learned the material, went into the audition room, met everybody that was involved in the production, which sometimes can be a bit daunting because you're in front of some of the best best directors, some of the best actors, some of the best musicians, writers. And so I went in, did my piece, and came out, rang my agent, as I always do. Just say, yeah, it was all right, it was nice people and everything. Went home. Got a call that night about 6 o'clock from the casting director to say, we've just been trying to get hold of your agent, but I mean, it was after 6, so she'd gone home.
Yeah.
So can you come in tomorrow? Because we'd like you to read for the part of the dad. So I thought, slightly different. So that evening, as is what happens with actors sometimes, I had to learn the dad's material plus the song that he does, Timeless to Me. Went in, did it, sang it, came away thinking, well, that was nice. It was really lovely of them to see me, kind of thing. And lo and behold, I got called back a third time, and basically they offered me the job of male authority figure. And I thought, that is absolutely wonderful. That's just brilliant. And I am going to be in the West End. Never even dreamed of being in the West End.
And that's a lot of people's biggest dream. So you achieved an enormous thing there, Dermot. Really proud of you. Well done.
Thank you. And but really was, I was just absolutely gobsmacked. And my agent, Eleanor, gave me some brilliant advice, which was the West End is a really, really small world. Everybody knows everybody. Be careful what you say, especially when you've got a couple of beers. And it's true. Everybody knows everybody, and
Yeah,
you say something, the wrong thing to the wrong person, and it can have
yeah,
repercussions.
yeah.
Especially if you're working with somebody, and it's happened a few times where I'll be working with a new cast of people, and somebody will mention a friend of mine or an actor that I know, and they'll go, "Oh God, I can't stand them. They're awful." And I think, do I say something, or do
Yes,
I wait
yes.
until the time's right and then say, "Well, actually, they're my best friend," that kind of thing. And
That's it.
people probably say the same about me. They're probably starting another show.
There's a lot of knives in the West
Yeah,
End. I'm sure you
yeah,
agree. But what
oh, yeah.
I admire about you is you don't participate in that. You're a great
No.
fellow and a great friend to all, which is such a quality. And I didn't participate in that either.
When I was telling people that I'd got hairspray, I was speaking to one. I was doing a play at the time at Hampstead Theatre when I got it. Again, I was over the moon because I was doing Hampstead Theatre. So I was starting to get better and better work. I wouldn't say better and better work, but more well-known theatres, more established theatres,
Yeah,
uh, and bigger companies,
yeah.
so to speak. And I was talking to a friend of mine that I went to drama school with, who she's not the same casting as me to begin with. She's younger than me, and she's a female and everything. And she was saying, "So you got the part in Hairspray?" I said, "Yeah, I did." She said, "Well, you do know it's only because you're the same size as the guy on Broadway, so you'll fit his costume, because that's how they cast it." And I just thought, how bitter are you?
Yeah, yeah,
How bloody bitter to say that
yeah,
I've only got the job because I fit the costume.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
she was partly right, because I did actually fit the same costume as the guy, but they
No,
did make me some new things. But I just thought,
no,
other
if you
things,
walked on the stage backwards, Dermot, with your glasses
yeah,
behind your head,
yeah,
I'm sorry, you wouldn't have been cast. At the end of the day, you have
yeah.
a gift, you have a talent,
Thank
and
you.
that's what's important. But it can be very, just on a personal front, from my experience, auditions as well, it can be very self-deprecating, because as soon as you walk on the stage, it's first of all, looks first, talent second. And so to an extent, she was trying to say that, but what a
Yeah,
cruel way of saying it. But then I think
yeah,
we both had a lot of cruel, things said,
yeah, yeah.
which is part of the process. But
Yeah.
again, what doesn't break you makes you stronger.
Well,
So
true, very true. Because I don't know what it is. Whether it's the fact that I am. I like to think I'm a nice person.
you
I really
are.
do
Oh,
like to think I'm a
you're
nice
loved
person.
by all, which was your
Oh,
introduction.
thank you, thank you. But because of that, I do get, in the earlier days. Doesn't happen so much now. I used to get bullied quite a bit
Did you? Yeah.
by some actors who would
Mm,
try and break your confidence. I was doing a play, one of the first plays I did in London, and it was above a pub. It was pub theatre.
yeah.
Brilliant director who does TV, but a really, really good director. Nice cast. And I was playing this character, the character of Chorus, who basically links everything in the play together. This specific modern play that was written in iambic pentameter, make it sound Shakespearean. And so I had speech after speech after speech, quite a lot of stuff to learn. And we had the initial reading, which went well. And I thought, well, that's good. And I came out of the rehearsal room with another actor who was playing one of the leads. And we were having a walk up to the tube station together. And he said, "Can I say something, mate?" He said, "And this is for your own benefit, but I think I think you should have a word with the director and get him to cut a lot of those speeches out, because you're just not going to handle it, are you? You're not that kind of actor, are you?" And I just thought, oh my God. And immediately a little voice goes, "He's right. You'll never learn all those words, Dermot."
Oh,
And you just fall into this
yeah,
spiral. As it
yeah,
was, I learned them. I learned every single
yeah.
line, and I went up on stage and I delivered my lines every night. And the person that spragged his lines up was the guy that told me, "Oh, you'll never learn all this."
Yes.
Every performance, he would have a dig at me or other actors, and it is a. I always think Why do
Well,
that?
it always,
Well,
Dermot,
we're
it
all
always comes from a lack of self-love and a lack of
yeah,
self-worth. And that's why I never got caught up in it myself. But I was also bullied in various different ways through my life as well. Not only because I'm very short,
yeah. That's what that is,
petite.
yeah.
And I used to wear blocker heels to my auditions because I wouldn't get seen at 5'2", so I had to be 5'4" at least.
Well,
So
this is it.
and it can be I talk about that in my book a little bit more, but it can be very challenging, and eventually you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too ugly. What do you think you're doing, wasting my time? I don't quote who said these things, but a lot of leading people do say things to break. But what I've learned in the process of my own story and being poorly at the moment is that if you drop that mask and you are congruent and you are just your true self and you don't let any of these bullies affect you, which takes a lot of self-work, and I've had, as you know, 10 years to work on that. But actually, if you step back, the people who love you will always love you, and
Yeah.
you have nothing to prove whatsoever, and those who don't know you aren't worth knowing. And it's that simple, Dermot. And you are worth knowing, and you are so gifted as well.
Thank you. You too kind. You've been making me blush because I hate. I'm not very good with compliments and things because I am quite a shy person. I'm not saying don't give me any compliments by all means, throw them at me.
Bring them on. But no,
Yeah,
and I
bring
think
them on. I can take
most
it. Yeah, yeah.
genuine folk do struggle with compliments as
Well,
well.
yeah, and I
And we're
think
almost on stage, we're almost inspired by the negative cuts. So as soon as somebody says you can't do it, we go, actually, well, I'm going to prove I can. And that's the drive, Dermot, and particularly in comedy roles as well. I'm going to prove it. And that's why, a lot of comedians struggle off screen and off stage because it's born of, I'll show you, because someone didn't believe them and they didn't love themselves. In fact, I do believe theatre very often is, please love me, was for me, please love me because I
yeah,
don't love myself. And here's my
yes,
applause. I must be validated by that applause. Would you agree?
yeah, yes. I totally agree with that. That is the truth. There is a lot of that comes
Yeah.
from it. Funnily enough, I might do this quite a few times. Bit of a name drop. That's a mic drop.
Hey,
But
it doesn't matter. Go on.
name drop as well. The second time I did Hairspray, which was at the Coliseum, just the second lockdown that we had for COVID,
Oh, yes.
we managed to open
Was that
under
2020?
no, that was 2021. We
Yeah.
were meant to open in 2020. We had 1 day's rehearsal, and then we went into lockdown.
Really?
So we had to wait a year. The producers were phenomenal for us because I do know that when a lot of shows went into lockdown, they went. Some people were looked after. Some people with very very big theatre companies. I'm not mentioning any of the names, but they lost everything
Did
because
they?
the producers just went, you know what? Perfect time for us to get everybody out of their contract, get everybody on a new contract on a lower wage, cut down the cast, and yeah, we'll bang it out at a cheaper version.
Goodness
And
me.
that's what has happened with some shows. With us, we were lucky. We had two very good producers,
Yeah.
Adam Spiegel and Fiery Angel, who did 39 Steps that I worked for, Marilyn and Ed. They were just phenomenal. They couldn't keep us on payroll for the 12 months, which is understandable,
Yeah.
but they kept us going. They
Yeah.
kept us going. We would have meetings every so often. They would keep everybody involved, keep everyone in the loop, and try and G everybody up as well.
Yeah.
To
And an
keep
actor, a proper actor, Dermot, will work for chips because we love it. So we're not that bothered.
Well, this is it. This is it. And we did everything that we could for them because
Yeah.
they said to us,
Yeah.
we are doing this show and we're doing this show with all of you. It's
Yeah.
as simple as that.
Yeah.
And we're not going to let it go by any way, shape, or form. And I'm glad that it was hard work for them and everything. But when we came to do the Coliseum in the production, we had Les Dennis,
Okay.
who I was told before I worked with, Les Dennis is the loveliest man in the business. And I thought, well, I'll be the judge of that because I'm the loveliest. And he really is the loveliest man in the business.
Oh, well, that makes two of you, Dermot.
Yeah, he's an absolute sweetheart, so I hated him. But he's lovely. But as he says, he suffers from imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
He keeps on thinking, I shouldn't be here. I'm not good enough for this.
Yeah.
Why am I working with these people?
You do find genuine people suffer from that.
And he still suffers from it. And he goes out on stage and he's terrific. No, he's not the best dancer. No, he's possibly not the best singer. We're probably a bit on a par, the two of us. But he's funny and he's a good actor and he's good at what he does. And the other thing is he's
he's likable. He's very genuine.
He's likable and he's a good cast member as well.
Yeah.
I've been very, very fortunate to work with people who are just so good.
Yeah.
I found a lot of the time that the bigger the name, the nicer they've been. And the smaller the name that I've worked with, the worse they've been.
Yes.
And you do come across some people that are just behave differently. But on the whole,
you had a good. So tell us about what that felt like. So you're on stage. Did you get to play the dad, if I'm not wrong? Because I think I saw you years ago as well.
Yes.
So you got to play opposite Michael Ball, is that right?
Well, yeah. The fact of the matter,
and I think you got to play him as well at one point.
Yes, I did. I signed up to do Wilbur, not Wilbur. I signed up to do male authority figure.
Yeah.
And then I got a call from my agent saying, "Oh, it's male authority figure, and they've asked you to be second cover for the dad. They've got a walking cover, and a walking cover stays in the dressing room. And if that actor's off, then the walking cover is on."
Right.
Simple as that. Different to a second cover like myself. I had my character. I was on stage every show, every night.
Yeah.
But if one of them was off, I was on in a different role. And so my understudies, I had two understudies, would cover for me.
So you had to learn, Dermot. That's really important. You had to learn two other roles on top of the 5 cameo roles that you were already playing. That's what I was saying about memory. That's a wonderful memory.
Well, it's something. This is
as well as gift.
Well, thank you. I think it's just the fact that it's the years and years that I've put in. Because I would say that the main thing that I would say to anybody that's setting out now is get as much time on stage. The more hours you put in. If you were a sportsman, if you were a tennis player, football player, a runner, whatever, you would train every single day. The more hours you've got on court or on the pitch is better, no matter who it's for, who it's with, or what standard. Well, as long as it's always a good standard.
Yeah.
But the more hours you put in,
you'll
reap the benefits.
So it's brain training. So whereas they've got the physicality in the sports, in acting, very much brain training as well.
It's brain training and getting it into muscle memory. Because suddenly for me, for the first time, I'd gone from just learning scripts and the text and movement to suddenly I've got to learn all the dance routines, not just my dance routine, but I've got to learn all of Wilbur's dance routine.
And were you grateful that you've been to the Royal Academy of Ballet?
Oh,
did that help you? Did that help, Dermot?
The 7 years I had there, really did help. Yeah, as anybody who's worked with me will tell you, I'm not the fastest at learning a dance routine. In fact, I'm one of the worst.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Well, I've got dyspraxia, a form of dyspraxia, so I can't ride a bike because I get all my coordination wrong. So a choreographer will be saying, right hand up, left hand out, and I'll be doing mirror image. I just do it completely wrong. So I do have to really, really, really work at it over and over and over again.
Wow.
And with Hairspray, it really was the best training, because not only was I working with people who were at the top of their game, and I don't just mean Michael Ball, who is phenomenal, is just absolutely phenomenal, but we had Mel Smith as well, who was wonderful. He was playing the dad, Wilbur. We had Tracy Bennett, who was playing Velma, and Tracy's a fantastic Northern actress. And we had Johnny Fiore, who was playing Malta Martinet. But we just had a good, solid cast of people, and the creatives the choreographers, the director, the writers, the writers of the score, all of them were there every day in the room, and you just got a different feel for it and a different work ethic. And so after, I think it was just after I'd been signed up, they asked if I'd be second cover Wilbur. And then I think it was on the second day rehearsal, my agent rang me and said, I've just had a call from the producers. Would you be second cover Edna for the mother as well? I thought, well,
My
oh, okay then.
goodness.
So I had to then
So you
learn.
had, basically, you could perform Hairspray independently, Dermot.
Yeah. Well,
The one-man show.
Yeah, the amount of time they've done it. Because you don't think at the time, you just think, yeah, okay, it'll be fine. But then when it comes to doing the dancing, the mother does a different dance to the dad. So you've got to learn two different dance routines. And depending who you're on as, I used to go on as, I went on as Wilbur a few times. And to begin with, I went on not opposite Michael Ball, but opposite his walking cover, Adam Price. So if Michael wasn't available, Adam would go on as Edna. Then, of course, whoever was playing Wilbur would do their role. But if they weren't available, as was the case the first time I was on as Wilbur, I think Mel was having a holiday, I went on as Wilbur. And so you have to remember, oh yeah, I stand on this side, they stand on that side. Yes. I dance this way, they dance that way. Oh, I come out with these lines and not their lines, because you have to learn everybody's line. That is one thing that I have learned from a few very, very good actors, which is mainly try and learn as much of the script, the whole script, as you can.
Oh, that's a good bit of advice.
Especially in your scene, learn everything, learn every movement, learn everybody's line, because you never know when you need it. And I know that acting is reacting, and you should never preempt a line. You should never deliver a line at such speed that before the person's really finished saying it, you're straight in with your reply that you'd worked on. Every evening, those lines can be delivered in a different way.
Yes.
You've got to answer them in a different way, react in a different way. With musical theatre, I suddenly found that instead of having lots and lots and lots of dialogue to learn, the dialogue is minimal. It's the songs and the dancing that you've got to learn, which is completely whole new ballgame. So, of course, I did Hairspray, and I was so I loved Hairspray. I still love Hairspray.
That was your passion, yes.
Yeah, I did it for the full run.
Yeah.
So I did over 1,000 performances.
Wow.
We did nearly 3 years of it. And after that, I came out thinking, I'm not going to be able to learn a speech anymore, because all I can retain are these small lines and then a song. I haven't done a speech in ages. And you start panicking about that.
Yes.
You start worrying about your memory. So I did panic and think, I'm not going to learn anything. And then the next job comes along. And the next job that actually came along after Hairspray, I did a couple of bits and pieces and TV work and things, but nothing major. The next one that did come along was 39 Steps, where there was 4 of us in the cast. I was playing man 1, and I played 16 characters. And at the end of 39 Steps, my character comes out with a scientific equation, which is a page long.
Goodness.
On top of everything else that he's done for the hour and a half previous.
Yeah.
There's a page long speech that you have to learn before you finish. And I would go out every day with the dog for hours and hours and just go over and over and over and over the speech. And then you get on stage and you've got it there. Yeah. Even though I still went over it every night, and you've got it. And sometimes it goes wrong, sometimes it goes right, sometimes you got to make it up, which I had to do a few times. And then as soon as the show's finished, you wake up in the morning and I can't remember a thing that I'd said, because the show's on and it's out the window. You know, every now and again, little bits and pieces will come in. I found the speech the other day. I was sorting through stuff, and I was looking for sheet music actually. And I found my speech from 39 Steps, and I read it through, and I just thought, how the hell did you remember this?
Wow.
You know, it's just.
Did you ever? Dermot, did you ever have a moment where you accidentally went, "You can't stop the beat"? I mean, that's your get out.
There's a few
Good
times
night.
I felt like doing, yeah. There's a few times I felt like doing that in shows. I have to admit, start tap dancing and get off, kind of thing. But I have to admit that yeah, since doing Hairspray 2007, I've mainly done musicals. I think I've only done 39 Steps and The Lady Killers, and apart from TV, those are the only two plays in the past 10 years I've done that I haven't had to sing or dance in.
And what about, am I right on this? I once put Crime Watch on. Am I right that you were in the back of a car and I suddenly said to my friend at the time, "What's Dermot doing?" Because obviously I wasn't sure if it was a legitimate police investigation or a TV
I did,
show.
yeah, I did Crime Watch. I was, it
Were
was
you the
me and Norma,
baddie?
no, I was the goodie. It was me and Norma Kelly.
Okay.
It was a reenactment of there'd been a robbery at Morrison's on the docks. There'd been an armed robbery, and so we filmed the reenactment. And they used my little face on the advert as well. And fully enough, because it was one of the first TV ones I'd done. I was still a civil servant at the time, and it was on telly. And the following day, I was in Greg's on just off Orchard Street, waiting for where the old Greg's used to be.
Yeah.
I was just in there queuing up for me sandwich and me pasties, and this fella shouted, "It's him! It's him! It's him on Crime Watch! Call the police! Get him! It's him! I saw him on Crime Watch." And I thought, I didn't even play the criminal. I was playing.
I thought you were the criminal in the back of the
No.
car because you looked like you were hiding.
Yeah. So, get the police! Get the police! I just thought, people.
I think that's half of the comedy of Crime Watch. I think it just stirs up a bit of a furore and people start arresting actors.
Because I mean, it was a clip of me stood with a Pyrex dish that I was trying to buy. I mean, I didn't look like a criminal at all. But yeah, you didn't get people do that. I mean, just off topic again. My dad, years ago, when he was in Coronation Street, was in the episode. He was one of the builders when Ray Langton, one of the main characters, was involved in an accident on the scaffolding, and they broke his back, and his character ended up in a wheelchair for a while.
Oh yes.
And he was one of the builders, and for a long while afterwards, women would come up to my dad in the street, and he was window cleaning, and they'd hit him. They'd hit him really hard. They go, "That's for Ray Langton, for what you did to Ray." And it's not like it's acting. It's what you did to Ray. He's in a wheelchair now. Like, no, he's not. He's an actor.
It's
but
real.
Yeah, people get it in their head that it's real. He used to
It's
get
real.
it. But,
so we obviously, your dad had the same skills as you, where he could suspend the illusion of disbelief. You know.
Yeah, he had to, because especially with something like Coronation Street, because it's in your home.
Yeah.
And it's on the box. Yeah. People at the time, I mean, I don't think they do as much now. People thought it was real. They got it. They were part of their lives.
Yeah.
They were in the same family and everything. And they just, sometimes you can't separate it.
Reality from fiction. I think that still stands today, Dermot. I think the television is a very good modality for getting you sucked into believing everything that comes through the screen, and you think, oh my gosh, that is a real person, a real character. And very, very clever. So to wrap this up, and I wish I didn't have to, and maybe we'll bring you back in the future, which would be lovely if you'd like to do so. And I want to mention Elf, that you've just starred in. And what part did you play there, Dermot?
In Elf, I played the store manager.
Brilliant.
Which is normally played by a younger person. And also, if you go on the casting for the film, it's normally, it should be a black actor playing the role, because it's black actor in the film, and in the script it states black actor as well. But they were going for a different kind of casting this time. They wanted to do a different kind of character. And also, I was very fortunate. There's a wonderful casting director called David Grinrod.
Yeah.
And he is wonderful. And everybody at Grinrod's and Grinrod and Burton are absolutely wonderful. They got me Hairspray. They've looked after me all these years. Wow. And nearly 2 years ago, coming up to April 2 years ago, I lost my partner.
Dermot, I'm sorry to hear that.
He passed away suddenly. And so I decided to take a bit of time off. And so I'd had a couple of months off, and suddenly I got a call from my agent saying, I know you want some time off, but they'd like to see you for Elf. And it was David Grimrod had called me in because he said, if anything was going to get me back on stage, he thought that this role, which is coming on for two scenes with two two scenes with two of the biggest dance and song numbers going.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh.
Just to throw that in, he said this probably helped you to get back on stage. He has so much faith in me. There are so many good people in the business.
Yeah. That's what you've got to hold on to. Absolutely.
Yeah. And one thing I'd say to young people, just because you've been in to see a casting agent and you didn't get the role, don't worry about it, because they have wonderful, wonderful memories. And you can be 2-3 years down the line and they'll suddenly call you up because they'll go, you are perfect for what we want. And it does.
But that's where professionalism comes in, Dermot. So you had that grounding right from your childhood, obviously, going to Piers. So your professionalism really does precede you as well, the way that you are, because they judge it, they watch how you behaved.
Well, yeah. I also, I'm pleased to say I've got a good reputation because I'm a team player.
Yes, you
I
are.
like being in the cast. I love being in a big cast, and I think for me it's the fact that.
And you're lots of fun as well, Dermot, which is also an attribute.
Yeah, well, this is the other thing, because I still can't believe after 20 odd years, I'm a professional actor who's doing what he wanted to do when he was 3 years old. Not everybody gets to do what they want to do.
No.
And I do. And I've done every job under the sun. I mean, when I was at Preston Crown Court, I worked on some horrible cases, some really, really grim cases. And I used to sit and think, oh, God, do I do this for the rest of my life? And now I turn up and I go on stage and I'll be halfway through a song and I'll suddenly think, hey, I'm singing with Michael Ball. And inside I start laughing. And I try not to on stage. I just think, you know what? It's the best job in the world. How can anybody complain about it? We're actors. We do complain. You know, you complain about. I mean, it'd be the first. It'll be like I haven't worked for months and months, and then first day of rehearsal, I'll be thinking, oh, this is brilliant, and we'll have the meet and greet at 10 o'clock. By 10:30, I'm saying to the company manager, "Can I go home early today? Am I needed?" Because that's what I do. I've got a job. Oh, you've got rehearsal tomorrow. Oh,
they say the best part of getting the job is getting the job.
Yeah. And everything else.
But that's not true, because the truth is, it's for you and I in particular, not for everybody. So to some it is a job, but if it's in your blood and your bones and it's your passion, you do it for nothing, as I say, and that's the point.
Well, I have done. I still do.
That was your training. That was your training.
Well, this is it. But I'm also happy. Anybody starting out or any young students that are filming or need any advice or anything, I'm happy to work with them for a cup of tea and a biscuit. You know,
you're brilliant like that.
Well, it's just putting back into the industry. It's something I can't describe fully. It's just the fact that I don't look at it as working. Yes, you put the hours in. Yes, you put in what people would call work, but I'm not taking anything away before I'm going down that route of, I'm just an actor who we don't really do anything. I would like
it's hard work. Hard work, but easy for somebody who's passionate but it is one of the hardest jobs.
If I take anybody who says, oh, they've got a tough job, you come and do a week's rehearsal of a musical from 10 in the morning till 6 at night, and then going home and having to learn your stuff, and then doing warm-ups before you even start in the morning, and solidly working and working. It's hard work. It's physically hard work. No, it's not the hardest work in the world, but at the end of the day, what we do is we entertain the people that do all the hard work. When they've worked in the hospitals, worked down the mines, if there are any left, whatever job they have to switch off, 99% of the time they turn on the TV, they go and watch a show, they listen to some music, something that has been created by us, the performers. And so we do have an important job.
Entertainment is absolutely quintessential. Rishi was wrong when he said entertainers need to retrain and find another job.
Yeah.
You know,
I really do think that it's time for him to retrain and find another job.
and what I will say is, going back to Elf, which
Yeah.
theatre was Elf at, Dermot?
Elf was at the Dominion Theatre,
Right.
which is one of the theatres I always wanted to play. It's
Yeah.
where We Will Rock You was on. It's a huge
Nice.
place. It's not the biggest one I've played, but it's a huge theatre.
And I think Grease was on there when I was younger.
Yeah, Greece was
Yeah.
on there last summer as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Lovely theatre.
it's a beautiful theatre. Used to be a cinema, didn't know,
Mm.
but it's absolutely huge theatre, and they have one of the best stage crews going. It was so
Wow.
much fun both years, because I did Elf last year.
So it's a Christmas show, just so the audience understands. Yeah.
And the moment it had finished in 22, January 22, they asked me if I'd be interested in doing it again. So
Wow.
I
Same
took the
theatre, Dermot. Same theatre.
theatre and did that. This year, it's going to be honest, a different theatre, I believe.
Okay.
I can't say which one at the moment because it hasn't been set in stone. And I can't say if I'm going to be in it either because it's still early.
Okay.
If they offered it me, possibly, yeah, because it's store manager is my kind of character.
Yeah.
And also I get to play stunt Santa Claus, because there's a quick change
Wow.
at the end, and so the actor playing Santa doesn't have enough time to fly the sleigh around the which is just
Auditorium. Yeah.
thing. Yeah, he can't fly the sleigh and then do a costume change and get on stage ready for the final scene. So they put me in my own Santa costume. I cover store manager also covers Santa as well in case he's off. So every night I got to fly Santa's sleigh, dress up as Santa, get out and
Well,
fly.
there's no better job. There's no better job.
Honestly,
You've actually reached the top. So from
Yeah.
here, it's all downhill.
Yeah, I was in tears every evening, because the moment you see the sleighs, so like take off a bit on stage,
Yeah.
and the kids are loving it, and then suddenly it
Oh.
goes out over the orchestra pit and turns round.
Wow.
Just all the kids are just off the chairs,
Yeah.
and they're waving and shouting and everything, and it's the most magical thing. It is also, to anybody that thinks, oh, how can they make a musical of Elf? It sounds awful. It's also one of the best musicals ever written. It is one of the best Christmas shows, and it's got some of the most beautiful music. It is like an MGM 50s big musical. It's absolutely.
Wow.
So if you get a chance
Wow.
to see it this
Yes.
year, at whatever theatre it's on in London,
And when has it been starting? Is it December?
it starts in November. It
November,
actually
okay.
the first time round, it actually started on my birthday, but it starts around about the second week of November. Though it could actually start earlier, because last year, the last time we did it, we just sold out completely.
Right. So this is why it's coming back for the third time. And just remind us which theatre again. Oh, you don't know yet this particular one?
No, we don't know. It's a big theatre, but it's not the Dominion, because Devil Wears Prada by Jerry Mitchell is directing that, who did Hairspray.
Okay. Yeah.
Choreographer of Hairspray. He's doing that. That's the new Elton John musical. So that's going into the Dominion. So Elf is
Elf will
moving
be
to
elsewhere.
It will
Yeah.
be elsewhere in the West End at the big theatre. One that I've always
Wow.
wanted to play.
And one last role that you have not told us about was in Fiddler on the Roof. Am I right?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, that's important to mention. And we're
Yes,
going to be rolling a few of your production credits across the
right.
screen as well. So just tell us a bit about that, Dermot.
I was gobsmacked and absolutely gobsmacked. My agent at the time, Bobby Chatt, who is now no longer my agent because she's moved into casting into another field. She rang up and said, "Oh, you got an audition for Fiddler on the Roof at the Menier Chocolate Factory with Trevor Nunn."
No
And
way.
so
Wow.
the two of us sat on the phone and laughed for a while because we both found it very funny.
Brilliant.
And then I turned up, auditioned for Trevor Nunn, who is just one of the greatest people I know in my life. And I got the part of Laser Wolf.
Wow.
And the Andy Nyman was playing Tevye, Judy Kuhn was playing Golda, the wife, and we just had a phenomenal cast, and we put it on at the Menier Chocolate Factory which holds 200 people.
Brilliant.
And we basically did the production almost in the round, so that the audience were around us. And I know you're on a screen here, but on some of the scenes we were as close as this. Andy and I would be sat at the table doing our lines, and there'd be an audience member sat next to us because we were that close. And it was the most magical experience I've ever had. It was one of the most brilliant productions I've ever been in. It's one of my favorite musicals to begin with.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've done it as well. Yeah.
I did Grandma Cytle. So as I say, I came on and went off, and my own family didn't recognise me, which was very flattering.
Did you do that one at the Charter?
No, that was Guildford School of Acting. And that was at, I've forgotten the name of the theatre now, but I should have recalled that.
Yvonne Arno.
Yvonne Arno, that was it. Well done. I needed you for that. That's yeah.
Well, I only know that because I played it some years ago.
Great theatre. Yvonne Arno, huge theatre, and a great place to perform. But for you played it in the round, which adds another dimension.
Yeah, we played it at the Menier, and we sold out the entire run because it holds 200. And so for the three months I think it was on, we sold out completely. And then we moved into the Playhouse Theatre in the West End.
Yeah.
The theatre was adapted.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like that one.
And it was just the most magical production. We had a couple of cast changes. We lost Judy Kuhn and Louise Gold. We got Maria Friedman, and it's coming to me now because it's been in my head all this time.
So you had Maria Friedman and
Anita Dobson. Anita Dobson came in, and she was wonderful. Anita, absolutely wonderful. And it was the most.
What year was this, Dermot? What year was this?
It was 2019.
Right.
We started the end of 2018.
So just before you then did your second run of Hairspray, basically.
Yes, because basically we finished in the September 2019. I went off and did Grandpa's Great Escape, which was an arena tour of a David Walliams book. And then came back, and my agent said you can have a month's holiday, and then you start doing Hairspray. And of course, we turned up for Hairspray. And as I said, we did one day's rehearsal, and then we went into lockdown because that was 2020.
Yes.
Thankfully, we could come back. With Fiddler at the Playhouse, we moved into the Playhouse because it suddenly became available because the show that was in, unfortunately, closed early.
Okay.
So we moved into the Playhouse sooner than expected. But it also had the knock-on effect that towards the end of the year, there was already a production booked in. So we had to close. Simple as that. And we were selling out like nobody's business.
Wow.
So it came that we had to close. If we hadn't, I think possibly, I'd like to think it would still be running. Maybe not with me in it. But
look what you achieved. So sometimes bad things happen for good reasons, because since then you did another run of Hairspray. You've done 2 consecutive years of Elf. So while a lot of people have been locked up, luckily, Dermot, you've been able to express yourself on that stage and continue to gather, more and more performance credits.
Yeah, I was very, very fortunate in the fact that in the first lockdown, just after the first lockdown, I filmed an episode of Casualty. I'd played a character in one of the episodes, and all that was done under all the restrictions, the COVID restrictions. Of course. But I was one of the few actors who could say, fortunately, I'm working. And this was the thing. So, I mean, especially with the second lockdown, we did Hairspray. We managed to keep it going.
Well done.
Everything was just starting to open up, and
I think it unites you more. I think what I want to conclude today saying is, we've all been separated, haven't we, for various reasons. And I think the great thing about what we're doing today on camera as well is getting our community back together again and celebrating the world of theatre, people as good as yourself, and not just on a professional level but on a humanitarian level. You really are so well respected, revered and loved, and
Yeah,
certainly celebrated in Preston as one of the greats, as I think your dad is as well. So yeah, I think that's how I'd like to end today, Dermot, but we'd certainly love to have you back in the future, if you'd like that.
Yeah.
But you've been a special guest today, a special person in my heart anyway, from all the things you taught me as I was growing up. And I'd like to say a huge thank you to you today, Dermot. Thank you for sharing your life story, and I hope it inspires other professionals to follow in your incredible footsteps. And I wish you all the very best ahead as well, Dermot.
Thank
Lots
you.
of love to you.
Lots of love to you, and stay safe.
Thank you,
See
love.
you.